Somehow universe has got the right group together today. Okay, so let me say a couple of things. Firstly, we believe that the future of L&D and the future of HR and the future of everything connected with management is OD. And I think, was it Rahul who said that OD should have been taught first? I think that is so true. And we believe that actually a lot of professionals not being trained in OD leads to disasters for people and organizations. And why am I saying that? So if you follow MIT, one of the things that they always build everything on is a foundation of systems thinking. Now, when you don't learn systems thinking, then what you are really doing is symptom thinking. Okay, there's only two ways to look at it. You're doing symptom thinking or you're doing systems thinking, right? And when you're doing symptom thinking, what you have is illness everywhere. Like if you see right now in most of the country, I don't know, but a couple of states that I know of, there is this whole cold, cough, viral, and so many related issues going on. Now, if you look at one way to look at is a symptom. Oh, I got cough and cold, and I get treatment for that. That's one. But when you start looking at a system level, and you imagine you are the health minister of the country or the state, then you have to start thinking. Every year, millions of people are going to go through this whole hell. What is the whole issue here? You have to think differently. And the beginning of any real contribution is when you begin to think differently. And when we train people, what first promise we take from them is that we will not treat symptoms. So if you want to be an OD, let's assume all of you are OD professionals, okay? So, and let's start with, this is my invitation, it's not compulsion, of course, but how about you making a promise? Like put your hand on your heart and make a promise. I won't treat symptoms. Okay, now let's look, yeah, and let's look at what are the symptoms that you treat with. So whether you're looking at within the company, inside, like employee engagement, attrition, the overall management relationship, the silos, these are all symptoms that you see. Outside, you see symptoms like your products are outdated, or you are getting beaten in the market, or there is a problem with the sales or the revenue or the cash collection, or the whole world of it. Everything is a symptom. And unfortunately, most of the management and the so-called leadership, and pardon me, HR and L&D are all dealing with symptoms. We have become super specialists, PhDs and super PhDs, and we are running billion-dollar industries on dealing with symptoms. Symptoms is a very big industry. Like right now, Dolo is being sold, Vicks is sold, all those medicines are being sold in billions. It's a big industry. But as an OD professional, we are not part of that. Right? It's like we have a different religion as OD professional. And we are not L&D, okay? Sorry. We are not HR, sorry. We are not the traditional managers, no, sorry. We are like the super specialists or super specialists in organization transformation, right? We have to be the high priest of this game. Because if not us, nobody. Everybody is in the trap of symptoms, dealing with symptoms. And I have worked with companies of the highest order, and I still see the same thing.
So it's not an issue of money. It's not an issue of, oh, no, MNCs are better. No, sorry. It's the same trap everywhere. Symptom, 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 symptom. Fix the symptom. Get acknowledgement, get awards, get some results, get something moving and survive. And then it's time for the next job. The organization will go through whatever it goes through. So the first rule of OD is we don't deal with symptoms. And for that, we need to identify what is a symptom and what is the structural issue which is causing the symptom. Okay. And I'm going to take some easy examples to start with. So one of my favorite one is most companies say we value teamwork. Do you know any company which doesn't say that? Now, still, if you look at most of the companies, if you look at their PMS is the performance management system, right? Their reward and recognition. How much of it is colored towards individual performance and how much of it is colored towards team performance? That should tell you why all the talk about team and all the training about team and all the drama in that whole world doesn't make any difference. Because structurally, you're not designed for it. Now, we can go details into each of it, which is what the whole OD game is about. But I hope I am driving home the point that we as OD professionals have to divorce ourselves from dealing with symptoms and discipline ourselves to look at what are the structural issues which are causing the symptoms. Now, by the way, structural issues are not the final layer. That is the first layer that you have to learn. Then you'll go to 2 layers below. But unless you master coming to the structural issues, there's no point going below. Okay, so that's what we focus on. That's the foundation of OD. Okay, not dealing with symptoms and always going to what are the structural issues which are causing the symptoms. So that's the foundation. Okay, now let me pause here. And if you have any question or a comment, most welcome.
Manoj, this is Amar.
Yes.
Amar, go ahead.
What's the full form of OD?
Organization development.
Okay, so I was assuming that. So
Yeah.
are we talking about the rather than reactive approach for problem solving or the proactive approach or identify the problems before it occurs?
We are talking about how do you build a strong, sustainable organization which will last the time that you want it to last. Okay. So one of the things that we do, Amar, is we ask entrepreneurs, when we work with small, mid-sized companies, we ask entrepreneurs, what is the lifespan that you're planning for this company? Or what is the life you're planning for this company? And they understand that we mean lifespan. You know, half of them or most of them answer, I've not thought about it. Then we encourage them and say, okay, please think and say. And luckily, and I think I'm very happy to say that most of them end up saying, I want the organization to last beyond my lifetime. That's a good news. I like that. But then the whole question is, are we even planning for that? Or are we busy in the day-to-day business? So, see, if you look at, for a moment, if you look at the small, mid-sized businesses, it will be true in a different way for the big ones, but still, let's start with the small and mid-sized for understanding. There are 3 things which occupy your time if you are the promoter or senior leadership team. First is your day-to-day business. See, the day-to-day transactions, the day-to-day firefighting and everything is so seducing that if you have 48 hours in a day, that will be not enough. Okay, so that's what consumes most of the time and energy and attention. The second thing is the business model. Okay, now people have some that steal time and focus on the business model. But the third and also critical, all these three are critical. The third and also critical one is organization building. And small and mid-sized companies do not have any, almost like zero, so close to zero that I'm going to say zero, amount of energy being invested in designing the organization that they want. And they want to last beyond their lifetime, right? So you want a 50-year, 100-year, or like organization to have a life of 50, 100 years. My thing is, if you don't plan for the future, you may not have one. So Amar, I'm kind of giving you a long answer to a short question. So for us, organization development includes building an organization which will last 100 years.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And that requires a very different level of thinking, right? It requires a different level of committing to build a future, not just survive on the transactions. Thank you, Amar. Okay, somebody else, any questions, comments? Maushmi,
The
Tanuka,
mention of symptoms, Manoj,
Yes,
sir, which
Ira.
you said, symptoms. If
Yeah,
you could elaborate a little bit on symptoms with a real-time example.
sure. You're in L&D, right? What are the last 5 training programs you have done?
So I do a lot of work in conflict management
Right, all conflicts are
and
symptoms.
yes.
Okay, next topic.
Collaboration is something,
Yeah,
cultivating collaboration is something.
all
And
collaboration issues
yeah.
are symptoms. What is the third topic?
Third is building resilience.
Okay, good. What else?
Something again in lines with communication, the other repeat programs that I do is communication, effectiveness in communication.
Yeah, with all the communication programs that happen, you might actually dream that some organization would have some communication. But unfortunately, the quality of communication in most organizations is pathetic. Right? Because we are all dealing with symptoms there. More communication, what most of the programs are dealing with, is not transformational at all. Because, so one is we are not dealing with the organization. So Saira, if I can take a little different angle to your question, okay? So all these are symptoms, right? So communication issues, conflict issues, the engagement issues, these are all symptoms. Silos that you see, these are all symptoms. You understand that part?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Is that good enough, or you need some more examples?
No, I guess this is sorted. It's more of
Yeah.
a reactionary method of dealing things, right? Not being proactive. Like you've used the word transformational. Like certain sessions of leadership can be transformational.
Yeah.
Where
Now I'm
you're
going to
helping
address a different
somebody.
issue. I'm going to address a different issue with that. Okay. But you got enough examples of symptoms, right? The other
Yes,
examples
yes.
of symptoms could be your sales going down, or sales going up, or market share, or the competition you're facing, or the product, then your new products being delayed, all of that, right? So
Yes.
those are all again symptoms, right?
Right.
A stagnating market share could also be a symptom. So there are all those symptoms. Now, one is we don't go to the structural issues. The other big problem, and why I am going to invite all of you to quit L&D and to quit your current understanding of HR, okay, and come into a new game, is organization learning is very different from individual learning.
Absolutely.
Okay. True. Now, let me give you the sad news. Individual learning does not translate into organization learning.
Exactly.
Like zero. There is no transfer. Almost so close to zero. Okay. So that all the work that you do in individual transformation doesn't lead to anything in the organization transformation. And I'm not saying your programs are not great. Doesn't matter. is organization learning is a very different animal. And we are not even addressing that when you're doing L&D and most of our other developmental activities. So we are, in a way, saying barking under the wrong tree. So Hiren is my partner and he also runs a training company, and I keep pulling his leg every day. Have you quit the industry or not? Right? So we were working on a vision statement for his organization, and I said, how about end of L&D? Because unless we end what is not working, you're not going to really build what is required to build. Right? And I'm not fighting the industry per se, but I'm for all the people who are really interested to make a difference. You want that all the efforts that you spend in your life actually should move a needle, then I'm inviting quit L&D, join OD. Because, and I've seen the best training programs in the world, okay? And I'm sure all of you have seen. And how much of it is actually transforming the organization is a very different game. So two things that I am highlighting today, as of now. First is symptom versus systems. Second is individual transformation versus organization transformation. Right? These are two foundation stones we have put in today, as of now, right? In the first 30 minutes. Okay, now we'll go further, but if you still have any question or comment, most welcome.
Sure, this is
Yeah,
enough.
hi, this is-
Great. Yeah,
Shall I
Bhupesh.
say something?
Yeah, please.
As per my knowledge or my experience, whenever we think, as you said correctly, individual cannot change the organization thinking, prospects or systems, right? But within India, which I saw from last my 8-10 years, and as compared when I was with the US or UK or in Singapore, so I saw that the people management is the biggest task for the any industry or any organization. And what the people is happening if your leader is visionary, he put some time at least to understand the thing, to understand the people, to understand the process, and try to develop them. But lots of time, lots of people, or lots of industry, they have only some, one separate, or they don't want to curve with the system. Very straightforward funda is that they wish to go as per the system like the robot. They don't want to try, understand space, practical, nothing. They don't want to do that, right? So whenever the person who is responsible that for the organization, yes, OD is playing a very important and crucial role, but only the thing is that that person, what's his visionary, or is that he is a visionary, it depends on that.
Okay.
Because finally
Yeah,
that OD games is played with the higher management.
I agree. I tend to agree with what you're saying. The way I would put it is, you can implement organization development initiative when you have the leader who is
Willing to learn and has a certain level of consciousness.
Correct, I agree.
right. So they may not have the biggest vision, but they are willing to learn, and they are willing to play the game with you, right?
Exactly, because that need a team player also. He's ready to move from their from the move outside of cabin, mix with the culture, try and learn the culture of the every stage of the people.
Yeah. How and all that we will not get into it immediately right now, but the whole point is, yes, you need partnership with the leadership team to be able to bring any transformation, right? And if a CEO tells us, hey, please go and transform our team, we say, sorry, not possible. That's not our business. Organization transformation, whether it's the CEO or whether it's a unit head, depending on if it's a large organization, you may not be working with the CEO, you might be working with a unit head, doesn't matter.
Correct.
With whatever that circle that you're trying to influence, you got to have the leadership team of that circle that fully in partnership with you. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
So that is critical. And yeah, great. Thanks, Bhupesh. Okay, so let's move on and let's just also address what are a couple of things included in Nodi. And I'm going to take help of some slides. So firstly, I want to share with you our purpose. So that will also give you a context of how we think, where we think from. I hope you can see the slide. Okay, cool. So these are the three elements of our purpose. First is create future-ready organizations. Second is create organizations where people bring their head, heart, and soul. Third, each organization being a positive contribution on the planet. And I'm going to say a little bit more about them. So when we are saying create future-ready organizations, what do we really mean? We're talking about a leadership and a culture where people are getting out of their head, they are getting out of the world of their success and their strategies and blah, blah, blah. And they're going out in the world and they're listening and sensing the future and creating their future in sync with what we call as the emerging future. All of us know enough and more companies who have been extraordinarily successful and then have been extraordinarily disastrous. And you can name them, right? The Nokias and Xerox and Blackberries of the world, and every industry you will find. And one of the things that you will see common is they stopped listening to the future emerging. They got seduced by their plans, their success, their strategies, and their vision. Your vision, unless until it's in sync with the emerging future, is going to be your Achilles heel. So we want to look at creating future-ready organization with that kind of leadership and culture, where everybody in the organization is connected with each other and connected with the world, connected with the stakeholders, and they are sensing the future as it emerges and co-creating their company's future in alignment with that emerging future. So that's point number one. And for that kind of leadership and culture, you need people to come with the whole self, not just part of the self. So it connects you to the second point here, creating organizations where people bring their head, heart, and soul. Sadly, nobody even thinks of people bringing soul to the office. Most people don't care about it. Even the leaders don't care that people are bringing soul or not. It's like not even the syllabus. Heart, people bring their heart initially, but then they realize you get hurt if you bring your heart. So they say, okay, keep your heart under control. Then everybody thinks, okay, at least they're bringing the head to the office. But like some of you already experienced, if you bring your head to the office, can you fully use your head? Or you can only use that much part that your boss and your system can tolerate. So unfortunately, organizations are not able to build on the full potential of people, and people are not fully self-expressed in organizations. I've asked a lot of CEOs, what percentage of the full potential of a human being is being tapped in the company? If you look at people have their head, heart, and soul, how much of that is tapped? And I get responses max of 13 to 14%. And one company, one CEO with 20,000 employees, he himself is an IAS officer, ex-IAS officer. He said 1%. Now that's where we are, right? So between 1 and 15%. So we're going to look at creating organizations where people bring their head, heart, and soul. That's also part of OD. Of course, there is strategy and all that piece, but this is the foundation stone again. And lastly, each organization being a positive contribution on the planet. We don't want to work with organizations who are not going to be a positive contribution on the planet. Okay, so that's, and we want to support organizations to be a bigger and bigger positive contribution on the planet. So that's our purpose, that's who we are, that's what drives us. right? So this OD program that we're talking about, the 6-month program, is designed for entrepreneurs, trainers and coaches, HR and L&D professionals and consultants. The 1-year program is designed for entrepreneurs and mid-sized companies, so the leadership team. Okay, and this is what we expect people to get out of being in the course, is learning leading edge methodologies for leadership, change management, culture transformation, strategy, and execution. And not only learn all of that, it's but also get hands-on practice. So that is the critical part. And then when you do that, you can add new offerings to your portfolio, whether you are currently working as a consultant or a trainer or an HR or L&D professional, you add to your portfolio of work that you do. Plus, you transform the impact of it. And at the same time, in this 6 months, you learn how to build your own practice with velocity. But the program is not 6 months. The 6 months is you are kind of entering the community. Once you're in the community, you have a pass for lifetime. You can become part of this OD community that we are building for the rest of your life. And the whole ecosystem that we are building. So right now we have 10 people in the team. We are working towards moving to 100 and maybe a little bit more as we go ahead. And this will be all highly trained OD professionals networking with each other across various countries. So that's the ecosystem that we are building. Now let's look at what are the areas that we address in OD and what you get trained to address in OD. So first and foremost is leadership and culture transformation. That's the foundation, okay, on which you build organization development. Then we have to train people. So we use Theory U by Dr. Otto Scharmer of MIT, which we believe is the #1 leadership and change management conversation. We're going to talk about how and where it is used globally and all that stuff. But that's what we leverage to build leadership and culture transformation. Then we work on strategic thinking and training people in what is strategy, what is not, and then how do you actually do strategic thinking. To then creating strategy for the organization, competitive strategy for the organization. And then after you create the strategy, then how do you put it in a way that you can execute it? So map the strategy and then create the whole mechanism for executing it. And then how do you actually manage the execution of it? So that is, if you see the first two things, leadership and culture transformation, strategy and execution, this is again, from the operational perspective, this is the foundation. Now, when you're doing execution, then you're building the company, then you realize the other element that you have to deal with is talent. We say 50% of all organization problems start with wrong people in the wrong roles. And in the last 10 years, nobody has objected to this. Okay. So then what do? So we actually help companies design what we call as a role-based competency framework. And all of you will get trained in designing a role-based competency framework. Not buying out ready-made competency frameworks from consultants, but actually designing one. And not just behavioral competencies, but a complete set of technical competencies, behavioral competencies, operational competencies, visualization competencies, and management and leadership competencies. Competency framework is not an HR business. It's every leader, every employee of the company needs to get involved in that. So we create the competency framework in collaboration with all the business leaders and their key team members. And then we use that as the foundation for all talent decisions. So whether it is evaluation of the current employees, the learning and development plans, the assessment for the new employees, the whole recruitment process, your career planning, succession planning, job rotation, everything, your performance evaluation, everything can become on the foundation of a rigorous RCF, role-based competency framework. So that's what we do when we train in the talent and performance management. The other part of performance management is it comes from your strategy. So how does the strategy execution connect to each department, connect to each individual? So these are the elements that we deal with in talent and performance management. With sales management, we have a sales management methodology. Plus, for the sales training, we use a consultative selling methodology in one of the top 3 in the world. Service excellence, we use a method called ServQual, which is a short form service quality. You can look at it, SERVQUAL. So it's a ServQual model that we use. And we have a collaboration with a company in Japan called Beacon. It's a 60-year-old consulting firm, globally established. So we use their innovative thinking system to create innovation environment, innovation culture, to transform everything from creating new business ideas to transforming the sales, marketing, processes, everything. So it's a whole set of methodologies for creating innovation culture and actually running innovation projects. So these are some of the elements that are part of OD and that we work when we work with companies. That's what we do. And as along with all that, you learn some of the financial management. Aljor and I, we did this work a couple of years back with a company in Thailand. It was a 60-year-old firm, also another 60, but this was into manufacturing for the construction industry. And the CEO, the MD, was 42 years old in a 60-year-old company. So he was the 3rd generation. So he had to deal with people who had 25 to 30 years of experience in the company. And he himself is just 42, right? But we worked with him and his core team and then the whole organization. We started with Theory U, then we worked with them on strategy, then we worked on all those parameters. And at the end of our journey with them, 1 year after that, they got awarded by their Prime Minister, that is Thailand Prime Minister, as the best managed small and medium enterprise. And after that, every year, they seem to be getting some of the other awards. And it's like a very satisfying, fulfilling experience. By the way, our first consulting experience was in 1994. Okay, so been in a long journey in different forms. So worked with big groups like Reliance also, and we were the founder consultants for setting up the first ever Delhi Public School in Gujarat. Okay, and from that time we have been in this game. So let me pause here again and see if you have any questions or how you're understanding what is inside. And Sarah, I hope this is valuable differently than whatever you learned in the last session.
Yes, the last session.
Okay, great. Anybody, any questions, comments? Are you getting a sense of OD? Sirita,
Yes.
question for you? Moshmi, Tanuka, any question?
All good, yeah, so far. Thank you.
Okay. Rahul, anything for you?
Does this imply assume some sort of a business transformation roadmap or a digital transformation roadmap? Roughly, I'm just trying to see are these elements which are brought in? It's like a roadmap, just like a roadmap, not details, but broad roadmap.
Yeah, we are more working on the business transformation, not the digital transformation. Digital transformation will be one of the elements that would happen. And we would have to kind of bring in some other experts for the digital transformation piece, maybe some of our client companies or otherwise. But we are more working on the business transformation, organization transformation, right?
Okay.
And yeah, if you look at a roadmap, it starts with first addressing, see, one way to look at it is we start something, but it never ends, okay? Like, for example, you start working on leadership and culture. You have to keep working on leadership and culture forever. It's never like, okay, we have done 2 programs and everybody's trained and certified, so now everything is handled. No, 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 no. That's not even the beginning of the beginning. Okay, so we start addressing leadership and culture, and we then once there is a shift in that, then we will start working with them to do the research required for creating strategy. Then we help them to create the strategy for their company. Then we go into the execution. Parallelly, we are continuously working on the leadership and culture. That's like you do assume that's going on parallelly. And then you work on the strategy articulation, then you work on strategy mapping, you work on execution. Once you reach that place, you're working with a balanced scorecard and other tools at that time. And then as a part of that, you transform different departments. So you work with talent, you work with R&D, then you have to start working with transforming each department. Okay, and then see what's required for this department to be the biggest contribution in the company vision. Okay, and as a part of the leadership transformation, we also work with a company to articulate their purpose and their vision. But it is a little long process. It's not like just 2 days and create some stuff from their head. No, we actually don't want their vision to come from their head. We want them to get out of their head. Because if their vision or strategy comes from their head, it's going to be very limited. We want them to go out in the world, see the world newly, connect with the stakeholders newly, and including the employees and the customers, but other stakeholders, see the industry newly, and then look at the vision and the strategy. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very limited, or it's going to be an exercise in English, which we are not interested in. Right?
I have a
Otherwise,
question.
yeah, Moushami, go ahead.
Yeah, so when we look at OD, we are doing it from an organization point of view. So it's more like a one size fits all approach because you're doing it, which is going to impact everybody. But do you think when you do it from overall perspective, the individual, something very specific for the individual gets that's not been taken care of?
We are not in that game.
Mhm.
We're not in the game of taking care of individual stuff. But you will be surprised when you start working on organizations. You will actually be able to contribute to the individual much more. For example, if they're able to, we find a lot of leaders are in the wrong roles, and we help them to move to the right roles, and then they are able to flourish. But we are not doing it just because of our love for that individual. We're also doing it because we are committed for the overall success of everybody, the whole organization and everybody. And one of the things that we see is that whole orientation of building the organization and everybody involved in co-creating that organization. That is something that is missing, and that's where we want to focus on.
Okay. So, I mean, where you have a lot of frameworks process. So, sometimes what happens is the human aspects, this is my little bit of experience. So, human aspect sometimes gets unnoticed.
Like, give me
There are a lot of differences that comes up.
Give me an example.
Say, if I just give an example of restructuring. So many a times it so happened that because of restructuring, the designation, the level, the grades got altered. And somebody who was kind of a senior manager, somewhere he got into a manager position. There are a lot of differences, there are a lot of upheavals that was created. So I was just looking from that
all
perspective.
that will happen. See, when we work on leadership and the culture, one of the things that we work on is breaking from ego to eco. And ego is thinking within the boundary, and eco is thinking from the whole. So eco is, if you look at in the Indian culture, we say Vasudeva Kutumbakam. The whole world is my family. Right? Now, in organizations, you also see this lot of egos which are in the form of silo thinking. And my department. And we say, if you're married to your department, you're divorced from the company. So we do a lot of violence to people's thinking. One of the things that we really want people to get detached from is their love for their department. Second is the love
Thank
for the
you.
labels. Right? Like everybody is a CEO. And we actually help them work and think and operate like that. But so because till the time you're dealing with the thinking within the small boundaries, you cannot co-create, you cannot work with other people, and you can't build something. To give a bad example, okay, this company that we worked with, Thailand, we talked about, there was a manager, she was responsible for customer service, and she was doing a pathetic job there. And our first reaction was, why is she there in the company? Second reaction was, why is the CEO not transforming the customer service department and just blaming her? But while we went deeper and understood her and all of that, we found out she had extraordinary loyalty to the company. And she was otherwise good, but she didn't have some of the competencies required to head the customer service. So we created a new role altogether. We actually created a new department altogether to channelize her energy in a different role. And initially she cursed us. But in 3 months' time, she was like so flourishing and so happy. And she was like doing an extraordinary job. And we had somebody else take over that department and transform that. So it requires thinking from multiple dimensions and not get limited by very silo, very boundary. You can't have many boundaries to your thinking. You need to think holistic. Mosmi, I hope you
Get a sense of what we're saying?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Manoj. Thank you.
Great, welcome.
I really liked, if you marry your department, you are diverse from the company. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, and initially most people hate us for saying this because most people are married to the departments. You can be only married. You can be only married to one thing, either the department or the company. Choose.
The support question is,
Yeah.
the support question is definitely when I marry to a company, okay, I marry to their vision, mission, okay, where company want to be, where our leadership or CEO want to be, okay, and apart from my loyalty, okay, what skill set I have to transform according to the the dynamic requirements of the market as well as the CEO vision, right? But sometime it happened, the person who was into the customer service, let me get the example of customer service only, was performing, okay, while the few transformation, it could be like service management to customer success, or the person who put down from Ahmedabad to Delhi or Delhi to somewhere, and some of the corporate politics or something, and he's not performing within the same department, same skill sets, same role, okay. So because we are human being, we are emotionally bound, something went wrong, some restructurings, so many reasons, okay. So to identify that part, okay, and how to transform that individual energy toward the OD.
Yeah, so that's where the whole work that we do with Theory U for leadership and change management comes into picture. And it's all about deep listening, sensing, collaborating, connecting, and co-creating. And once you master that conversation, you will forget everything that you have ever learned on teamwork and communication.
Okay, great.
Like I said, you quit L&D. That's a dinosaur industry. They don't know it yet, but that's important, right? When you can see the end, when you can see the future before it becomes obvious. Okay. Now don't quote me outside.
Yeah.
You have to pay to hear this. Okay, great. Thanks, Amar. Sirisha? Question? No? Okay. Bridges, welcome. I don't know how much you missed and how much you could hear, but if you have any questions, comments, that would be most welcome. Saira, Tanuka, anything for you? Hey, Aljur, anything for you? Are you remembering the project that I'm talking about?
Yes, yes. No, nothing for me right now. Just enjoying the conversation. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. As I'm speaking, he also knows the names of the people that I'm talking about because he was involved in that project. Okay, yeah. So I'll just give another example. Recently, we were doing some work with theory U and the deeper levels with an education institution, a big company with 35 plus institutions. They have 35 institutions. And so this is the whole leadership team participating in that. And then we were doing this activities on deep listening, sensing, and then getting into the world of the stakeholders and all of that. There are a lot of tools and activities there. So on the second day of a 3-day intervention that we were doing with them, which is a part of the bigger intervention, they said something interesting. They said, we always thought we are the best school in town. But now what we realize is we have no idea of what our stakeholders are expecting from us. And this happened because we got them to do certain exercises, which got them to interact with and get into the world of the stakeholders like the staff, parents, and students. And these managers were sitting and they're talking to students, and I could observe them. And as the students were sharing their expectations from the school, their expectations from the institution, those people were like getting, oh my God, is this what you expect from us? It's like they were like shell shocked. Because they had no idea of what the stakeholders are expecting from them. And from all the market dynamics, you can say they say they are the best school in town. I would say 50% of the town agrees with them. But still, this is where they are. They have no idea. They're not in the world of the customer. And this is happening with every industry. We were working with a company which was serving the pharma industry. And we were doing a vision mission and other exercise with them. And we were talking to them that each company is just one disruption away from trouble. And this company was in a very good mood because they had great financial years. During COVID, as you know, pharma industry went well. They minted money, most of them. And this industry, since it was serving the pharma industry, they had like a huge boost in their revenue. So they were like very happy, right? And they were doing this workshop to look at the future. And I was telling them, each industry is one disruption away from trouble. And they were like, yes, 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 we understand. Yes, yes. After 1 week, the CEO calls me. He says, we got disrupted. What happened? Our biggest customer has now become our competitor. Now, if you understand, so this is like a 150 crore company, okay? Small company. And the pharma industry and the company that he's talking about, like, that's at least 100 times bigger than them. There is like no way these guys are going to compete with them. Of course, they'll figure out whatever they'll figure out. But the whole point is they got completely disrupted. And the last 6 months, whatever new technologies they were working on, this pharma company hired the manager who was working on that. So their source person is now gone there for all, and who knows all the new things that these people were working on. Now, unless you are actually creating a whole organization which is sensing and connected, very deeply connected, you're just one disruption away from trouble. Doesn't matter how big your company is. And people are not deeply connected to each other, and they're not connected to the stakeholders, they're not connected to the industry. They're in their head. So that's the kind of work that we need to do as OD. Okay, so let me also give you some information about the program I mentioned to you. So we are running two programs. One is a 6-month program, and the another is a 1-year program. So we're going to talk more about the 6-month program. So this is starting, the next batch, second batch is starting from September, end of September. 27th is the 27, 28, 29 is the first weekend. So this 6-month is, the structure is like this, 1 weekend per month. Let me see if I have also a slide which captures the structure. Give me a second. Yeah, okay. So there will be 6 weekends, 1 weekend per month, and alternate weekends will be in person in Ahmedabad, and the alternate weekends will be online on Zoom. Along with the weekends, very rigorous coaching sessions of 2 hours each. 20 such coaching sessions will happen. Like imagine the kind of conversation we are doing. We are doing hands-on with your company, what you are building as an OD practice. So that's the kind of work that we will be doing. Plus, each of the participants. So if you are participating, each of you will have a coach in the program, and you will be coaching somebody. So you are actually not only learning whatever you're learning in the course, all those elements that we discussed earlier, you are actually helping somebody implement it. So that gives you a first-hand experience of coaching somebody and working with them to implement, working with them to create their own vision, they're creating their own strategy, and then managing the strategy execution, all of that. Right. So that's what would happen. So you will have 6 weekends, 20 group coaching sessions. These are led by us. Then you will have buddy coaching, that is, you will be coaching somebody and somebody will be coaching you. Those are additional work. So this is like a 6-month boot camp. And along with that, you will also get supported in building your practice. Or if you are working in a company, we will help you to create projects within the company where you will practice all of this. So right now, for example, we have somebody from a very big IT consulting industry participating in the current batch. We have somebody from the BFSI industry participating, plus a lot of trainers and consultants. But these two people, they are in job and they're still doing it because one is they want to create a future for themselves of being OD practitioner, and they want to use their current company as a learning ground where they will contribute also, and at the same time they'll get a first-hand experience of it, right? So that is one thing. And then this structure. So this is the basic structure. And the first weekend is 3 days, all other weekends are 2 days. And yeah, so that's the whole schedule. And once you complete this course, then you kind of become part of the community, and then you can partner us in various initiatives that we do. We will partner you in various initiatives that you do. Plus, you will network with everybody. You can network with everybody from all the batches, current batches, future batches, past, and you're becoming part of the whole ecosystem. So I think Bhupesh, if, most probably it was you who said you want to be a freelancer. And we strongly recommend against that. And why we don't recommend that is because there are a lot of limitations when you start working as a freelancer. Instead of that, we encourage you, let me just, yeah, okay. So we encourage people to, instead of thinking like a freelancer, to think of themselves as a company. Also to look at the other models of building platforms, building community, and building ecosystem. So wherever you are, you can be part of a community, part of an ecosystem, and you can be building communities and building ecosystem. Okay. And that is a very different world. See, one of the problems with the gig economy is lot of roles are going to be in the contractual game, right? And a lot of people are also wanting to be consultants and freelancers and all that. But unless you become a part of a community and an ecosystem, you are going to get bashed up from multiple angles, and you're going to miss out many opportunities, right? So right now, for example, we are creating this community. So we have people with background in finance, background in lean management, background in production, and those collaborations are going to help them to take on bigger initiatives, what they would take up otherwise, okay? So we strongly recommend people to develop the thinking, like you're building your company, you're building your platforms, you're building your community, you're building an ecosystem. Both, you're building one and you're also being part of one, or you're building one and also being part of many. Okay, so that is something that we strongly recommend to everybody. And yeah, so, and we offer something, plus at the same time, we train you to create other communities also. Okay, so that is a little bit about the course. And this 3-month program, the 1-year program costs 12 lakh rupees because that's designed for entrepreneurs. The 3-month program costs, sorry, the 6-month program costs 3 lakh rupees. But for people, right now we are running a promo, so this is going to cost 2 lakh rupees. Okay, and over and above that, we have a special incentive for people to act. So people who register today by paying a minimum of 25,000 plus tax, we will be taking care of their accommodation in the 3 weekends. So in a way, we are paying you back more than that just by you registering today. Okay, so that is only available for people who register tonight. So the total tuition will be 2 lakhs plus tax, and the minimum registration amount is 25,000 plus tax. That comes to 29,500. You can pay by cash, credit card or bank transfer, GPay, or there are multiple methods, and we can help you with that. Okay, and we can work out the balance payments. So if you are interested, we will have a separate conversation about that. Okay, before we go ahead, Kiran, can you put in your contact details also in the WhatsApp group? Sorry, in the chat here, and I'll also put my numbers. Please make a note of it if you want. You can, and then we'll take questions. Okay, questions about OD, questions about the program. Sirisha, Moshmi, Tanuka, Amar, Bhupesh, anybody?
So Manoj, one question from my side, that we are in these sessions, we're gonna take the real dynamic business examples or the use cases. Okay, just to understand from your side, okay, that the strategy what we use during the peak performance, like the example what you gave of that pharma wasn't picked during the COVID. Okay, but we are getting heard that the recession is about to knock the door. It is already started somewhere in US or the other developing market. So
Right.
the kind of different strategy during this economic turbulence. So how it differ during the normal or peak performance time, or how it how to design during the challenging time, okay, or market sinking time.
Right. So good question. Thanks for asking this. It gives us an opportunity to address something fundamental. See, let me say it this way. Strategy is the most misunderstood and misused word in English. 90% of people who use the word strategy have no idea of what they're talking about. Like, no idea. It's just like you add weightage to whatever nonsense you are speaking by calling it strategy. Right? So the first thing about strategy, there are a couple of rules about strategy. First rule about strategy is long term. If it is not long term, then you're not talking strategy. I think that will answer half of your question. Right. Second thing is, it's given that it's long term, and we're talking about is like, see, changing strategy, I would say, is like changing your religion. You don't do it very often, right? How many times in your life have you changed your religion? No, very rarely people will do it, right? So strategy has to be thought like that, and that long term, right? Whatever else you are doing, you are not thinking strategy, you're doing something else. Okay, that's not strategy. If it is not that long term, then it's not strategy. So we connect with Michael Porter's way of defining strategy and competitive strategy. And then we are looking at, so first is long term, second is competitive, and to make it, to build the strategy, to be executed and create it as your strength, itself takes years and years and years and years. So if you're saying, oh, there is some recession happening, what am I supposed to do? You're not in the world of strategy. You're not even playing that game. You're some other game. Okay. So that's how I would look at this. Okay. So first thing is long term. Second is competitive strategy. And it's a set of choices that you make. Like you choose a religion, then there are certain choices, interconnected choices that you make. And these are very deep, long-lasting conversations. Okay. So welcome to a new world of strategy.
Thank you, Manoj.
Welcome. Thanks. Okay. Anybody else? Anything? Brijesh? Remember, I said what I said in the starting is, the more you interact, the more questions you ask, more you engage, we can create more value for you, right? So we got around 10 plus minutes here. So if you want to use that, most welcome. And we don't have to. We can always we can always wrap up a little early. Yeah, Tanuka, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So no questions, but tons of notes, and everything made a lot of sense, right from system level to symptom level. Of course, it's like if we take care of good lifestyle, wellness, then of course we don't need doctors. So
No, but also you have to look at it as the health minister of the country.
correct. Exactly.
Not just individual.
So not just individual, you have
Because
to.
we're talking OD, right?
We're talking OD, we are not talking individual.
Transformation. Yeah.
Yeah, at a system ecosystem level.
Yes.
So yeah, so a lot of those, in fact, I'll just read out the notes that
Please.
individual learning does not lead to organization development. Moving from ego to eco, everybody is a CEO. People need to think like that and come together to co-create. And if one is married to department, then they are divorced to the company. One cannot be married to both. So I think those are very, very powerful way of looking at things. Of course, at a leadership level, of course, you do tend to think, of course, that's your role, but you also look at things from 50,000 feet. But, having this clarity all the time while making decision that am I thinking of individual or am I thinking at system level? I think there were a lot of takeaways for me from this session. So I just wanted to call that out.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tanuka, for making all the notes, and especially thanks for sharing them with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So one of the things I said about theory U and how it is being used. So let me just share that slide. So this is being used by all the top companies like Google and Alibaba and McKinsey, and you can see this. And most of these companies are not only using it for their own transformation, they are so inspired by it that many of them are creating foundations, creating kind of initiatives to spread it in their whole industry. Like, for example, Eileen Fisher is in the fashion industry, and they realize that the mess that the textile fashion industry creates on the planet, it's a big mess, and if they transform, that's not enough. They need to transform the whole industry. So people are becoming part of transforming the whole industry. one other thing that we address, theory U addresses, is the three divides: the ecological divide, the social divide, and the spiritual divide. The ecological divide is, as human beings, we are disconnected from nature. The social divide is, as human beings, we are disconnected from other human beings. Right? I think both these things don't need much proof. Humanity is disconnected from nature is very well understood. We are also disconnected from each other. We can see it in so many ways, right? So actually, human beings have been quite innovative in creating walls and barriers with other human beings. So it starts with caste, creed, religion, geography, gender, you name it, education, financial, language, hierarchy. There are so many ways we have created walls and barriers with each other. It's almost like we are a planet of 8 billion lonely people. Right? And there are many ways to look at it, wars and otherwise. But one of the ways to look at it, and since Otto Sharma comes from the economic background, economics, so one of the ways to look at it is from wealth. So less than 1% of the population, I think around 50 or 60 people, have more wealth than bottom 50% of the planet. That's one way to look at the disconnect, the divide between people.
And you can see it in many other ways. So there's the ecological divide, there's the social divide, and then there is the spiritual divide. The spiritual divide is we are disconnected from ourselves or from our highest future possibility. And if you look at it, again shows up in many ways. Once you are not connected with yourself, you kind of live with a lot of anxiety and stress and everything. It shows up, as you know, in many forms, the relationship breakdowns, the hollowness, the stress, the anxiety, and everything. One sad statistic is more people kill themselves than are being killed by others. And if you look at all the violence on the planet and wars and everything, and then when you look at it, and natural calamities also put together, then you look at it, oh, in spite of all that, more people are killing themselves than are being killed by others. And the number is roughly 8 lakh people every year. So we are living in a world of this ecological divide where we are using 1.8 times the regenerative capacity of planet Earth. We are living on a world where 1% owns more than 50% of the wealth of the world, and more people are killing themselves than are being killed by others. And all of this in different forms is showing up in our companies, in our industries, in our organization. And one of the things that we want to do with Theory U and culture and transformation is to address this, how it shows up and how we can contribute in healing these three divides. So just to add to that conversation. Thanks, Tanuka, for bringing that up. And
and this theory this is the first time I'm hearing, and it makes so much sense when you really look at it from those three divides point of view. And the statistics that you shared for each of those. So I'll read more about that. So thanks for sharing.
Perfect. Great. Hey, Prantik, welcome. We are in the last 5-10 minutes of the session, but we should connect again separately.
Sure.
Great. And so we are going to wrap up. Everybody, thank you very much for participating in the session today. And we would love for you to join in the 6-month OD program. And for anything you need for the program or otherwise, please be in touch. We have shared our contact details. Hiren, did you share your number also? Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And if you want to also do something in Philippines and Thailand, you can get in touch. We'll connect you to Aljor also. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. We really appreciate your participation, and it was great to have all of you with a certain kind of like-mindedness in this conversation. It allowed us to go a little deeper in the conversation. So thank you very much for that, everybody. Take care.
Thank you so much, Manoj. Thank you all.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thanks a lot, Manoj.
Welcome.
Thank you and good night, everyone.